Okay, Jimsy, so it looks like you got kind of stuck with the capstone. If you just ran out of time and you've got it and you don't need any help, then you can ignore this video. If you do need help, though, I wanted to go through a couple of things. First of all, you were trying to organize it by realtor, which is a good idea. The only thing is that you have the data with the name of the city. This makes it sort of incalculatable, so we need to separate the number from the name of the city. And another thing you can do is also not just organize by one data point, which is the realtor name, but also by the city name, because if you looked at the requirement, one of the calculations is that you have to find the total sales for each city and the average sale for each city. So, and there might be more to that, but I forgot all the many calculations that it asks. So it's a little bit overwhelming when you read those instructions, but take them one at a time. So what I would do is down here, I did the same thing you did, but this time I separated the city from the number, and I still have it being organized by realtor name. And then I organized this alphabetically. And then I looked through and I said, okay, Murray sold a house in Aurora for $529 and Guled, etc. So the other thing you need to do is start formatting. So I like to color coordinate. So I do shades usually. So I put a light bluish gray and then one underneath, just making sure it's easy to read. And then this helps to visually tell that each one of these, Murray is one color, Goulet is another color, and Jones is another. And you can get way more different in your colors. Just, I just like to keep it simple. So, all right, another thing is that you need to use numbering format so that we know this isn't number of people, this is actually dollars. And as you can see, some of these are, rounded and some of these have decimals. So I'm going to highlight all of these, and I think I'm going to, calculate a lot more information. So I'm going to come in here and hit the dollar sign, and it's going to show two decimals. And I don't feel like when you have high numbers like this that you need decimals. If you wanted to keep the decimals, you could, but I don't like them. So there we go. So now it's just a matter of starting to calculate. And one of the things it says anytime you want to use commission, you need to use an absolute reference, which means if I wanted to find the commission of how much Murray made on this house, I wouldn't come over here and do 529 or actually B27 times 4%. I wouldn't write 4% here because then I'd have to do it for every single one of these. Instead, I'll do B27 multiplied by whatever's in D24. So if later on our commission goes up to 5%, I don't have to rewrite all of these formulas over here. So let's go ahead and do that. So one of the things that you have to do is you have to calculate sales by realtor. So these are all of Murray's sales. So we're going to go ahead and and notice that if they didn't sell anything, and actually I do think I want some grid lines right here. So I'm going to come up here and do all borders. That makes it a little bit easier to read. So I didn't put 0 because if you tried to figure the average out of these, a 0 is going to negatively impact that number. And I think when selling houses, 0 means that you failed to sell in that city, like he failed to sell in Lafayette. But I don't think that really matters in real estate. I think if you're trying to find the average, you're trying to say what is the average between the sales he did make. So anyway, so we're going to say total sales by realtor. So Murray's total sales, we're going to go ahead and do a formula. So I'll go to my formulas tab and go to auto sum and choose sum. And then it's saying, what do you want to add? And it's trying to add B36, and I don't want it to do that. So I'm going to run over and say the cells I do want it to add, and then hit enter or return. And it's saying that Murray sold $3,790,000. So you're probably saying I should now be a realtor. I am also saying the very exact same thing. So anyway, the cool thing about this is you don't have to change that for these. You can come over here, and now it's going to copy that. It's going to assume this one is B27 through B35. For Goulet, it's going to be C27 through C35. So Excel's smart enough to know that. It's smart enough to know that if you move to the right, you're trying to keep the same range, but just in a new column letter. So these are all correct. These are total sales. So you can see Jones is our highest seller. Now, if we wanted to do an average, we can do that too. Average sales by realtor. Now I can't see any of that, so I'm going to double click the A column, and you can tell that it's super long. Okay. So average sales by realtor. So what I'm going to do is come up here and I'll choose average. And it assumes that you're trying to do the cell right above it, which doesn't make any sense. So we're going to run over here and say the average between all of their sales. So on average, Murray sells a home that's worth $473. So again, we can copy this over and we can see that Jones's average sale is $837,254. So now we can do things like total, let's see, total sales by city. All right. So that's going to be a sum of all the houses sold in Aurora. So we can do equals sum, and it is calculating that correctly. So now in this one, it's saying now we sold almost 3 million in Aurora, but it's saying B27 through D27. So it's always going to see B through D because we're going this way. But now it's going to be row 28 and then row 29. So Excel is smart enough again that when you copy down, it assumes that you want to keep the columns the same, but you want to change the row number. So if we come over here, you can see that we only sold 352 in Brighton, and it's doing B28 through C28. So that's very cool. So again, you can do the average sales by city here. And then you're going to have to figure out the commission. So I believe you have to say total sales. Let's see, total sales for each realtor. Got that. Average sale or total sales per city. Cool. Average sale per city. So I would do that here. Average sales by realtor. I would do that here. So now it's total commission per realtor. So commission is a different thing. So this is maybe where I add something to the right or maybe underneath. So I'm going to put this commission, I'm actually going to put it here. And this crosses two cells, and you're supposed to show a merged cell. So I'm going to go ahead and hit merge in center, and I'm going to right align this. And I'm going to left align this. So that way we can make that bold. And I'm going to make this a noticeable red and big so that we know currently the commission for both Move Now and the realtor is 4%. So now this is called an absolute reference where you always want to reference this number. So here's what we can do. We can, let's think about this. Let's think. So you can organize this in many ways. You can have the realtors all down this way, and you can have the cities all down this way. You can organize by Murray and his commission and Move Now commission, and then do Jones and his sales, his commission, and Move Now commission. So you can organize this in many different ways, whatever way makes sense to you. So now it's just a matter of figuring out those total commissions per realtor. So he earns 4% off of the sale, and then Move Now will earn 4% off of that. So we're going to do, maybe I'm going to cut this, and I'm going to put it down here. So this is where we do, this is commission for realtors and Move Now. So maybe we do this whole chart now. So I'm going to copy this, Command C, and I'm going to do Command V. And I'm going to copy this, Command C, Command V. So we know that this is going to be our chart showing commission. So basically what we're going to do is I'm going to say our commission, Murray's commission for Aurora is going to be equals this multiplied. Now we could type 4% in here, but if later on we change this to 5%, we're going to have to go to each of these and change it to 5%, which is really tedious. If I change it here once and all of these are referencing that cell, then it'll automatically change everything. So what we want to do is we want to say we want to multiply it by 4%. So it's going to say we want to multiply it by C40. Now the problem is this is truly the commission he made on Aurora. But when I change it down here, see how it gets this weird value? And that's because it's saying help on this error, and it's saying that it's probably going to reference something empty. So basically, it's multiplying B28, so it got that right, by C41. So if we look at C41, see how it tried to move down just like it did when we did these? And we don't want it to multiply by C41. We want to leave that as C40. So this is what we call an absolute reference because it is going to not change. We don't want it to change as we copy down. We want to keep it at C40. So we're going to go ahead and undo, Control Z with that. And once we have that cell in there, we're going to say the cell that shouldn't change, so C40, should have a $sign in front of the column and then a $sign in front of the cell. So that kind of puts it in concrete and says stay the same. So we're going to hit enter or return. And now when we pull this down, all these should change. This should be B29, or let's see, B28 times C40. This should be B29, so the Broomfield house, multiplied by 40%. So now the cool thing about this, let's say I was going to change this to something crazy like 40%. See how it changed all those numbers automatically? So once we get Goulet and Jones in there and the Move Now commissions, it's going to change all those numbers with one change instead of having to make what? I think there's 11 houses. So 44 different changes. All right, so we want to do the same thing here. We can copy this over. So this one is saying we're going to multiply a C27, which is right, by C40. See how it stays the cell reference? So we're going to pull that down. And we're going to move this over, and then we're going to pull that down, and there you go. So now I can put in here total commission by realtor, average commission by realtor, and then total sales by city. No, total move now commission by city. Yes. Because then you're basically going to say, because it's going to make the same in theory, but you're going to multiply it by this. So you're going to say E27 times 4% would equal this. So again, if I were to come in here and change this to 40, you should be able to see all these different ones change. So that helps hopefully to organize it. So you were on the right path by organizing it by realtor and then by city, but you just got to separate that data and then just take it one at a time. And don't be afraid to make two different charts. So this is basically, so I might make this one a cool color, so all these are going to be blue, whereas for this one I might say, okay, commission, that means how much money he got, so I'll do these in green because that makes more sense to me. All right, so I think we're looking pretty good. And then move now commission. Yeah. So hopefully that helps. Let me know if you have any questions, and make sure you turn this in before the last day of class so I can regrade it.